Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here, as always, to take your sources, really dig into them, and pull out the most interesting bits.
Yeah, the key insights.
Exactly. And today, well, we've got a really fascinating story. It's from ancient Buddhist commentary.
That's right. We're looking at the Cullakāla sakavatthu. Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. It's basically the story of a lay follower, a guy named Cullakāla.
And our mission, for this deep dive is to really unpack this story and the teaching inside it. It's quite profound.
What's the core idea?
It's all about personal responsibility for your actions, sure, but also for your inner state, your own purity or impurity.
Okay. And you think there were some surprising takeaways for us, even today?
I really do. Maybe even challenging ones. Let's see. All right, let's jump in, set the scene for us. Where does this story start?
Okay, so we're with the Buddha. He's at the Jetavana monastery near Savatthi. Pretty common setting.
Right.
And the story focuses on this lay follower, Cullakāla, and Upasaka. He's just been listening to a Dharma talk. So he's what, leaving the monastery?
Exactly. It's early morning.
Yeah.
Dawn, basically. He's leaving after hearing the teaching, probably feeling thoughtful, heading back towards the city.
Okay, sounds peaceful enough. But I'm guessing things don't stay that way?
Not at all. This is where things take a turn. The sources mention thieves, specifically tunnel-boring thieves.
Okay.
And they're being chased. The owners of the stuff they stole are right behind them.
Right, so they're running, desperate.
Yeah, and in their rush to get away, they just dump the stolen goods.
And let me guess.
Right where Cullakāla's walking. Just drops it right there in front of him.
Oh, wow. So he's just standing there early morning, leaving a monastery with a pile of stolen loot at his feet.
Exactly. Terrible timing. And the people chasing the thieves, they arrive right then.
And what do they see?
They see him. This guy who looks like he just came from religious instruction, standing over stolen property.
Oof, I can see where this is going, their reaction.
Instantaneous and harsh. The text actually quotes them. It's pretty vivid. They basically show, look at this guy pretending to listen to the Dharma after robbing someone. Get him.
Wow, just like that. No questions.
Nope. They seize him. And they start beating him right then and there.
Brutal. Talk about judging by appearances. They just assume the worst.
Completely. Circumstantial evidence looks bad. They assume hypocrisy. And boom, immediate violent punishment.
So he's in real danger here, like mortal danger.
Absolutely. But then some unexpected people show up.
Oh.
The text calls them kumbhadasyo, slave women. They're on their way to get water heading to the Waterford, and they stumble upon this scene.
Slave women, so people with very little social standing at that time.
Right. But they're crucial here. They actually intervene.
What makes them do that? It must have been risky.
It probably was, but the sources say they recognized Cullakāla. They knew him. They knew his character.
Ah, so he wasn't a stranger to them.
Exactly. And they say something really powerful, something like, "Masters, please step away. This man doesn't do things like this."
Wow. They vouched for him.
They did. And apparently, their testimony, maybe combined with his known reputation, convinced the crowd. They actually let him go.
Incredible. So his reputation and their intervention literally saved his life.
It seems so. A really close call.
So what does Cullakāla do then? He must be shaken up.
You'd think. He goes straight back to the monastery, finds the monks.
And tells them what happened.
Yeah, tells them the whole story, how he was almost killed by the crowd but survived. And interestingly, he points to two reasons for his survival.
Which were?
He credits the slave women, their help, but he also credits his own innocence. He says something like, because of my not having done the deed.
Huh. So he acknowledges both the external help and his internal state. That's interesting.
It really is. It's a key detail. So the monks, they hear this pretty dramatic story, and they go report the whole thing to the Buddha.
Okay. And this incident, this whole near-death experience and rescue, it becomes a teaching moment, right?
Precisely. The Buddha hears the account.
And what's his take? Does he agree with Cullakāla's assessment?
He does. He confirms it. He says, yes, Cullakāla survived, both because of the external help, the women stepping in, and because internally he hadn't committed that unwholesome act. He was innocent.
So the Buddha validates both factors.
Right. And this specific situation, this intersection of external events and internal reality, it leads him to state a really fundamental teaching.
The core principle you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. He delivers this verse, and it's powerful.
What does he say?
He says, by oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity belong to oneself. No one purifies another.
Wow. Okay. Purity and impurity belong to oneself. No one purifies another. That last line really stands out. Let's unpack this a bit using the commentary you mentioned.
Sure.
What does it mean, by oneself is evil done, by oneself is one defiled? How does the commentary explain that?
Well, it links the action directly to the consequence within the person. So the person who does the bad thing, like the thieves in the story, they're the ones who experience the defilement. It happens in them.
So it's not like an external punishment.
Not primarily.
Yeah.
The commentary suggests the suffering, the unpleasant results, maybe even in future lives or lower realms, arises from within that person because of their own actions. The consequences ripen in the doer. The defilement is an internal state generated by the act.
Okay, I think I get that. The impurity is self-generated by the harmful action.
Exactly. It stems from, greed, hate, delusion, and it reinforces those states. That's the defilement belonging to oneself.
And the other side, by oneself is evil left undone, by oneself is one purified.
That's about choosing not to do the harmful thing, choosing wholesome actions instead.
Right.
Like Cullaka, who was innocent of the theft. That person achieves purification by themselves through their own effort, their own restraint, their own cultivation of good qualities, and the positive results, happiness, maybe good rebirths, even progress towards nirvana, those also ripen within them.
So purification isn't something bestowed from outside, it's an active internal process.
That's the core idea. It's about cleansing your own mind through your own wholesome efforts.
Which leads directly to purity and impurity belong to oneself. It sounds like our inner state is entirely our own responsibility.
Precisely. Your mental state, the quality of your mind, the results you experience, they are intimately tied to you, the doer. They arise and mature within your own being.
So back to that really stark line. No one purifies another. Why is that perhaps so challenging for us to hear?
Well, I think because, we often look outside ourselves, don't we? We want someone else to fix us or forgive us and make it all okay.
Yeah, or we blame external factors for our problems.
Exactly. We might look for a guru to just give us enlightenment, or we think if society changed, then we'd be pure or happy. But this teaching says, it says no. Others can definitely help. They can guide you, teach you, inspire you, like the slave women physically saved Cullakāla.
Right. External help is possible.
Yes, but they can't do the internal work for you. They can't reach into your mind and remove the defilements or cultivate the wholesome states for you.
So even the Buddha, a supreme teacher, he can show the path, but he can't walk it for you. He can't make you pure.
According to this principle, no. The actual effort, the turning away from unwholesome actions, the cultivation of wisdom, compassion, mindfulness, that transformation has to be undertaken by the individual.
It puts the responsibility squarely on oneself.
It's a radical statement of self-reliance in the spiritual path. Your purification is ultimately up to you.
That feels, very relevant today, especially when we think about how easy it is to get caught up in blame or looking for validation from others.
It really cuts through that, doesn't it? If your inner state, your purity or impurity, belongs only to you and comes only from your own actions, what does that say about blaming your boss or your past or society for how you feel internally?
It implies that focusing on external blame might be, missing the point if the goal is internal purification.
Or seeking external validation. If purity comes from within, does someone else telling you you're good actually make you pure? This teaching suggests maybe not.
So the path to, say, inner peace or freedom from suffering, it's an inside job.
That's a good way to put it. It requires looking inward. What am I actually doing, thinking, intending? How am I contributing to my own state? Because that's where the leverage for change lies, according to this.
And the story itself shows that understanding this had a real impact on Cullakāla.
A huge impact. The commentary says right after hearing this teaching, Cullakāla attained Sotapadhi, stream entry.
Wow, the first stage of enlightenment.
Yeah. So grasping this principle of personal responsibility wasn't just, an intellectual exercise for him. It triggered a fundamental shift. And the text notes the teaching helped everyone else there too.
It underlines that insight can be truly transformative.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's chew on this final thought then. If we really take this teaching to heart, no one purifies another, what does that imply about how we view things like help or guidance or even punishment?
That's a great question.
If the real change, the purification, is strictly internal and based on your actions, what is the actual role or maybe the limit of any external influence, whether it's positive, like teaching, or negative, like trying to force change through punishment?
It certainly makes you think differently about what we can realistically expect from others and what we need to take responsibility for ourselves, doesn't it? Someone else can only point the way.
Then the journey, the actual work of purification, is entirely yours. It puts a different spin on personal growth, maybe even on therapy or education or rehabilitation. What can external systems truly achieve if the core change is internal?
It's something to really consider. What is the real mechanism of change?
A very provocative thought to end on. Well, that's been our deep dive into Cullakāla's story and this teaching on self-purification. Thanks for bringing these sources to the table. Really fascinating stuff.
It's a powerful message, isn't it?
Huh.
About the agency we each have over our own inner landscape.
Indeed. So we encourage you, the listener, to reflect on this idea. Purity and impurity belong to oneself, and that ultimately purification is an inside job. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.